back to another episode of the Unoriginal Podcast. Your host, Jeremy Orr, back with another episode. Today's episode, I kind of want to dive into something that's not gonna be easy for me to talk about as a college football fan of South Carolina. But all things considered, I have to be fair, and it's just too much of a interesting story to not talk about. And what I'm talking about is the season that the Vanderbilt Commodores have been having. It's tough to talk about because of like, if you ask me, Vanderbilt is a team that pretty much killed our season, but the season that they have had is like, honestly, like I can't even front that it hasn't caught my attention, and it is something that I have, somewhat to a certain degree, have admired. Vandy currently sits at 71 on the year and are currently ranked ninth in the nation. And Diego Pavia could very well be in Heisman contention, if you ask me. I saw something. Well, basically, I watched the SEC do the basically like an SEC segment or SEC show on Netflix where they just covered all SEC football teams, and obviously, Vanderbilt is a part of that. And Diego Pavia basically said that, he didn't want to go to the NFL because he felt as if he had unfinished business at Vanderbilt and wanted to bring Vanderbilt the national championship. And that's a pretty bold statement. But he is absolutely backing it up as the season prolongs. I mean, Diego Pavia is currently leading Vanderbilt in both passing yards and rushing yards at quarterback. And he's not even a quarterback who I would deem as like a dual threat or like known for his mobility. Currently sits at 1,000, we'll round up for 1,700 passing yards and 460 rushing yards. And honestly, he's spreading the love between his receivers. Like Sherrill has 312 receiving yards. Stowers, the tight end, has nearly 400. Richardson has 300. So I mean, he's definitely spreading the ball around. It's not really like a surefire guy that he's going to as like a main target. Like he's spreading the love of the ball. Andy looks good. Andy's only loss this year came at the hands of Bama. Bama went in there and beat them 30-14. And honestly, they may have stunk. Like they may have stunk our season because like South Carolina was slated to be a playoff team, and I believe that after the hit that a Vanderbilt Commodore defender laid upon the Lenore Sellers, ultimately putting him into concussion protocol. That exact play, if you ask me as a fan and like watching every single week, even after that game, that play by itself changed our entire season, hands down. And it sucks because I like, there may be an inch of this that is delusion, but like you could not tell me that South Carolina was not going to win the national championship and Lenore Sellers was not going to win the Heisman. But I mean, they like, going back to Vandy, they have some huge wins. Like they beat us when we were ranked 11th in the country, and they weren't even ranked yet when they played us. Beat us 31-7. They go in and beat LSU, who was ranked 10th at the time, by a touchdown. They beat Mizzou by a touchdown. And honestly, it doesn't really get any easier for them. They got to go in and play Texas, who is ranked 20th right now. But like Arch Manning, like regardless of what we've seen, like I think we still know Arch Manning is no joke. And Ryan Wingo, still one of the best receivers in the country. And then you look at Auburn, who has, despite a 4-4 record, one of the best defenses in the nation. And then they finish off the year playing at Tennessee. So there is a world where I could see, honestly, to be honest with you, I could see Texas upsetting them. So it still puts them in a world where they would end the year 10-2, which would very easily get them in the college football playoff. Could they win the whole thing? Honestly, in the title of this episode, you will see me call them the Cardiac Commodores, which kind of stemmed from a couple of years ago when Kemba Walker was at UConn, and they called him Cardiac Kemba because of the NCAA tournament run that he had. That very well could translate over to Vanderbilt and what they could do this year. Do I see it happening? I don't know. Like, Ohio State still looks good. Even though they just fired Brian Kelly, I'm not counting LSU out just yet. Texas A&M, Marcel Reed looks sensational. Notre Dame, I still think like Marcus Freeman, in my opinion, is the best head coach in college football. So it's tough for me to say now. Can they come out of the SEC? I mean, so currently they're fifth in the SEC. Texas A&M and Bama lead the SEC at 5-0. Then I didn't even mention Georgia. Ole Miss has been playing amazing. So it's gonna be tough, but like the way Diego Pavia has led his team, it is very hard, even as a South Carolina fan, to count them out right now. They're averaging 38 points as a team per game and have scored 300 points with 41 touchdowns this entire season. Like that's pretty good. 24 rushing touchdowns. They have nearly 500 total offensive plays, and we're basically 8-9 games in. That's elite. That is elite. I mean, do I think Diego Pavia would have got drafted? Honestly, yeah. Would he have gotten playing time? No. And I don't like, even like, say in a magical world that Vanderbilt goes to win the national championship, Diego Pavia goes and wins the Heisman Trophy, and is the national championship game MVP. Like it would to me sort of be like a Will Howard situation. I mean, I know obviously Will Howard didn't win the Heisman, but we looked at Will Howard at in a different light than we did beforehand, with like just overall success at Ohio State. I think we can very well do the same thing with Diego Pavia. While I think Diego Pavia is a totally different player than Will Howard, it's an amazing story because I myself did not see this coming. Like I remember, um, it's actually funny because you can go a couple of episodes back to where I got to interview um, my cousin who's one of the players on the South Carolina football team, Jamie Henrisha Jr. And I remember us talking about, because right after that upcoming game was the game against Vandy. And, in a very subtle manner, talking trash about what I thought Dylan Stewart was going to do to Diego Pavia, and he's laughing at it because he knows how much of a dog Dylan Stewart is, and they go in and ramsack us. And so, but it just goes to show you, like, Diego Pavia is a dog. And it could be like you have a lot of quarterbacks who have that, like, Tim Tebow kind of um, like narrative to them where they're just like, they're made for college football. Like, Tim Tebow is probably the greatest college quarterback that we've ever seen, and his NFL career is nowhere near what we saw. And so Diego Pavia could very well have that same sort of trajectory, the way that he can end things off. But I mean, you end things off as a national champion and the Heisman, which I mean, I don't think there's a clear cut favorite for Heisman right now. Like, I think, you could obviously make the case for Julian Sand, like I said, Diego Pavia, Marcel Reed, Garrett Nussmeier, like all of them you can make a legitimate case for, and I would, neither disagree or agree. But Vandy looks like Vandy's a very cool story right now. I can't even lie. Like, as a South Carolina fan, like, it's tough for me to say, but like, I'm not gonna ignore what I see as much as I want to. And I mean, like, it's all truth to it when you look at the title of this thumbnail of this video, and you see Vanderbilt is becoming the cardiac Commodores right before our eyes. Because they have a legitimate opportunity to be 10-2 by the end of the year. It's just, where I'm at right now is like, are there just going to be a team that, performs well in the regular season, and then in the, college football playoff, they just stink up the joint. And that's where I'm feeling right now. Like, I feel like it's going to be a thing of, I hate to, like, put it like this, but, like, as I'm now calling them the cardiac Commodores, the cardiac Commodores could very well go into cardiac arrest in the college football playoff. And I can't say I'd be super surprised if it were to happen. But I mean, like, Diego Pavia, like just, I keep talking about him because he's just a great story, like an undersized quarterback who plays his heart out, like, is one of the toughest, huge-hearted quarterbacks in college football. And I mean, just put it like this. He's one of the, like, just think about it. How many quarterbacks can you truly say right now are better than Diego Pavia? You can't name many. Like, you can probably name 5 at the most, 7 after that, but you gotta put him in that top 10. And honestly, in the same breath, you have a top 10 quarterback, you should be able to win the national championship. Or, like I said, it could be like a story like last year. You look at Penn State. Penn State had a beautiful regular season, at the college football playoff, and they made a decent run, but not what we expected. Or even years ago, they could have a story that's similar to TCU. I would like I myself. I saw TCU in the national treasure, and I'm like, huh? TCU. And I mean, after they lost, they got demolished in the national championship. But Vanderbilt could very well be a story that has some sort of similarity to both of those programs. You know, in those years where they made those kind of runs. But it just goes to show you, like, okay, so currently Diego Pavia ranks 54th in the country in passing yards. So, I mean, Vandy is 12th in the country in scoring offense. And that is because of Diego Pavia, mainly. Whether it be rushing or passing. And they're 24th in scoring defense. So, I mean, they have all the tools accessible to get it done. It's just, you know, I think the key is, are they just going to continue to, or are they going to, you know, or are they going to go through a series of, you know, like some fluctuating, or like a sequence of fluctuating. And so we're looking at the Heisman odds, right? Look at the Heisman odds. Fernando Mendoza for Indiana currently leads the way. Then you have following him Julian Sain from Ohio State, Ty Simpson from Bama, Marcel Reed from A&M, and then guess who? Diego Pavia. And then one guy after him being Gunnar Stockton from Georgia. Diego Pavia could really lead with a lot of awards. Like he could potentially get the Heisman. He could be SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Could end up with the SEC best quarterback. Like it's he can really put himself in a different realm depending on how he performs in these last 3-4 games, and then you know in the event that they do get a spot in college football playoff, which the SEC is so tough that they legit might have to. I mean, they're already bowl eligible, so they can already compete for a bowl game, but they legit may have to win the SEC championship to solidify a spot in the college football playoff. But maybe not. Maybe not. The college football playoff is so. The committee is personally not to my liking, but maybe they could be somewhat in favor of Vandy. But we will see. Like it's a very exciting story. I'm probably the most intrigued to see how their season turns out, to be honest. And that's coming from a South Carolina fan who, you know, deems Vandy responsible for the decline in which our season is taken. Because now we're, you know, I think 4-4 now, or 3-4. You know, during a time where I believed that we were going to be 10-2 as well. Like I believe Vandy's going to end up finishing, and it sucks. But I will say this is the first time where, as a South Carolina fan for 10 plus years, nearly 20 years, this is the first time where we've had a quarterback that I was like faithful of, but not just him, the guy we have coming in after him, Aaron Nolan. I have a lot of confidence in what Aaron Nolan can do after Lenore Sellers, you know, hits the pros. In the event that he stays, I hope he stays and you know, starts for us. Because I hope he knows that, like, I personally believe that if, you know, he stays, that there should be no reason why he doesn't start next year. So, but yeah, that's all I got, y'all. appreciate y'all always for tuning in. If you haven't, it definitely should be out. It will be out by the time y'all see this. Watch the last episode where I talked about how the 2025-26 NFL season could very well be a replica of the 2017-18 NFL season, where you had the crazy outcome of the Final Four teams being Jacksonville, Minnesota, New England, and New Orleans. No, Philly, New England, Minnesota. Anyway, yeah, I always remember, don't underestimate, appreciate